Fall Speaker Series. I'm Gerald Irish, Vice President of Sustainable St. John, and I want to thank you for joining us and our speakers today, Eddie Oldfield and Samir Yammine, as they discuss the implementation of the City of St. John's Community Energy Plan. This presentation will include a high-level overview of St. John's Community Energy Plan and the result of Quest's Getting to Implementation Workshop for the City of St. John. This includes recommendations for government structure, communications, stakeholder engagement, data collection, and monitoring KPIs, and a roadmap to implement measures of the CEP. So first we have Eddie Oldfield. He has coordinated initiatives focused on local sustainability, GHG emissions reductions, climate adaptation, and resilience planning. Eddie is a senior lead projects and advisory service for Quest. In his role, he helps deliver regional and national projects to advance smart energy communities and supports FCM partners for climate protection members in Atlantic Canada. Our first speaker today will be Samir Yammine. He is the Manager of Asset and Energy Management for the City of St. John. His responsibilities include providing strategic leadership and direction to the senior leadership team and Common Council in developing and implementing the corporate asset and energy management programs across the City of St. John, including city agencies, boards, and commissions. Before we start, I'll just have a couple of quick items. The first will be a quick housekeeping item. Please ensure your video and mic are off for the entire presentation. We ask that you be respectful in chat and that chat only be used for questions, which we will have a chance to ask at the end of this presentation. So without further ado, Samir, please start us off.
Okay, thank you very much, Gerald. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning, everyone here. So my presentation will be very quick before I hand it on to Eddie Oldfield. First of all, just want to give everybody overview about the City of St. John commitment to climate change and give you some idea about our overview in a high level word about our City of St. John climate change action plan, and we'll give you some kind of high level progress. Just to give you some background of the City of St. John, I don't want to talk about the population, just to let you know how important, how critical climate change to the City of St. John. As you know, everybody, we are surrounded by Bay of Fundy and St. John River, so we are very susceptible to flooding and seawater rise. So it's important for us as a city, as a community, always to make sure we do our possible to ensure that we mitigate any risk as a result of climate change event as well and reduce our greenhouse gases. City of St. John is a very big area for the population, is a very vast area. Our total infrastructure is around $3.2 billion, which is significantly infrastructure compared to other municipalities with the same size of population. First, I just want to give you an overview about our climate change action plan, which was adopted by Council in May 6, 2019. If somebody wants this information on our climate change, we'll be very happy to share this information with everybody. But our climate change action plan consists of 3 pillars. I always talk about the climate change adaptation strategy, which talk about what are our strategy, our mitigation strategy to adapt to any climate events such as flooding, seawater rise, anything which impact our climate, our infrastructure, as well as the community as a whole. Second tool, we talk about mitigation strategy, which talk about how we're going to reduce our greenhouse gases. We developed 2 plans, one for our community, which we're looking at reducing by 18% by 2035, and also the corporate, which dealing with our corporate corporation, transit, buses, fleet, municipal building, waste, and so on. We're looking at 30% by 2030 and looking at carbon neutral by 2040. And the last one is our asset management program, which we address our infrastructure resilience on our infrastructure, how resilient is our infrastructure to climate event, how effective and efficient our infrastructure to meet the level of service and to be sustainable financially and environmentally. First, our climate change adaptation strategy, which adopted by Council in last year in 2020, which was a big it's a big milestone for us, which was headed by ACAP, and ACAP did a lot of job by engaging with many of the stakeholders to get their input, and they did and they identify what are the gap in legislation and planning in order to implement our climate change adaptation. They look at, assess the risk and assess what are the vulnerability area, what are the mitigation strategy. And as a result of this here, we developed a, what you call it, a action registry, which include over 45 action registry right now to help us to ensure that City of Saint John as a community is resilient in the short term and the long term to any climate event here. We are in a process working on this action plan, and one of the biggest items which adopted by council here is we're looking to operate some of this action plan into the next iteration of the municipality plan, or we're looking at it for next year. Then the next one, when we start talking about mitigation, we can talk about our corporate greenhouse gas and energy action plan. Over the years, the city has made a significant work on our municipal building, transit, and so on here. And in 2015 or 2016, we developed a action plan or corporate greenhouse gas and energy action plan. We're looking to reduce our greenhouse gases by 30% by 2015 and to be a carbon neutral by 2040. And in our action plan, we have a list of all detailed measure building by building, by asset, and when we need to do it, what their cost implication, what the savings. So we have a detailed action plan on each of this, our strategy here. And we're hoping, but if we can attain the 2025, we're looking at over 2.2 million annual saving, which resulted to over 7,000 tons of CO2. In 2019-20, we received a funding under the low carbon economy around $2.5 million toward implementing a, what do you call it, a municipal deep energy retrofit program. The goal here is to reduce by additional 4,000 tons and reduce our annual saving by over $600,000. The program is underway. We have developed all the decision criteria. We have conducted over 52 building environmental assessment and building condition, over 50 building. We have completed over 20 projects as of 2021 right now. Our annual saving is over 200,000, and we will be able to reduce over 1,500 tons of CO2. So the program is ongoing, and we're hoping to complete it by end of 2023, which we hope result is over 4,000 tons of CO2. So we are on the way to meet our target by 2025, by 2022 or 2023. And the last one is asset management program. In asset management program is we want to ensure that any infrastructure investment we do is we make sure that we do a climate change lens, which include to take into consideration any climate change, any investment we do to make sure climate change is on the front part of any investment, whether it is renewal or whether it is a new asset, because we don't want to ensure in the end of that we can maintain our level of service as the lowest life cycle cost in order to manage our infrastructure environmentally efficiently. So I'm not going to go into detail in our asset management program, but we have a lot of policy and strategy to help us to meet our vision on asset management. Excuse me. The next one is our community greenhouse gas and energy action plan, which will spend a lot of money, and Mr. Oldfield will spend a lot of time explain to you how the city of Saint John will implement this community greenhouse gases action plan. This is not an easy, and the city of Saint John cannot on alone. On the corporate level, we have more opportunity to reduce it. We have more control, but on the community is very challenging here. And I just want to keep you updated here. We are coming back in the next couple with another target. We're going to bring it to council for our community plan here. But the goal as part of the energy plan is to reduce it by 18% by 2035. We have to develop a detailed pathway and action plan in order for us to meet this target. And Mr. Oldfield will discuss more in detail with you. And the benefit of this, if we meet this 2035 target, we are hopefully to reduce the community green energy cost by over $44 million and 56,000 tons of CO2, which also divert over $1.1 billion over 25 years into our local economy. So the benefit of implementing a community greenhouse gas and energy action plan is environmentally, socially, and economically benefit to the community. So in the end, I'm not going to spend too much detail here talking about this item. There's a lot of project underway going on right now here. We are working with St. John Energy on the 44 megawatt wind energy, which help us to meet our community greenhouse gas target here. As you know, of last night or on Monday, the City of St. John Council has provided a letter of support for the company Torch Lighting to undertake a detailed district energy study for the City of St. John. This is a big step for us, and this is an essential part for us to help us move forward in order to meet our community greenhouse gas action target. Working with St. John Energy on developing home energy retrofits through FCM program. We are also on developing and implementing a lot of EV charging station. You can see a lot of EV charging in the next year throughout the City of St. John. And we are currently working with Woods Environment on developing a public transit and fleet low carbon migration strategy. This will help us to develop a roadmap to help us how we're going to migrate our fleet, our transit in the short and the medium long term to a low carbon emitter energy. And second one, I know, and we're working on how we can implement the community energy plan. And I understand that Mr. Oldfield will discuss about it, and also we'll discuss furthermore about our government structure to help us manage our community greenhouse gases as well as our climate change adaptation for me. Gerald, this is it for me here. We can take question here, or you can wait till after Mr. Oldfield finishes his presentation.
Samir, I think we'll wait until both presentations are completed, and then we can take those questions at that time.
Beautiful, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing.
All right, well, thanks, Samir. Eddie, we're over to you.
Thanks, Gerald, and thank you, Samir. Great introduction. So I'm going to share my screen here, and hopefully you will be able to see my PowerPoint slide here. Looks good. Okay, so thanks for having me. And to follow up on Samir's points, I'm here to talk to us about the Community Energy Plan and a strategy for implementation. For those of you who don't know, Quest, we're a national non-government organization, and we work to accelerate the adoption of community or integrated community scale energy systems across Canada. We do this through commissioning research, communicating best practices, convening government, utility, and private sector leaders, and working directly with local authorities to implement on-the-ground solutions. And so far, we've worked with the City of St. John on numerous projects, including helping with the development of the Community Energy Plan, more recently a Smart Energy Community Benchmark Assessment, which I'll talk a little bit about later, as well as a land-based renewable energy mapping assessment for the potential for wind and solar utility scale installations. An economic impact assessment to look at the potential job creation, economic development, and dollars being kept locally in the economy through these types of energy measures and efficiency measures. And then more recently, the Community Energy Plan Implementation Workshop that was run early 2020, right before our pandemic shut things down, and as well assisting with climate resilience planning. But today I'm going to focus primarily on the implementation aspects of our work with the City of St. John and the recommendations that came out of that work. Also should note that Quest is funded through our supporter network, foundations, federal and provincial grants, and more. We have over 130 supporters, some of which are listed as smart energy leaders. So Samir has already introduced a little bit around the climate change and energy action plan and targets. which included reducing greenhouse gas emissions in the community side by 18% by 2035. Notwithstanding, I know that they're setting net zero targets for 2040 or 2050, and they need to have an implementation strategy to reach those targets. The current climate change and community energy plan was adopted May 6th. And along with that, Council adopted a resolution to develop a governance structure and an implementation strategy. And this is why we held a workshop with the City of St. John on, it was March 6th? May 6th, I think, no, March. So the vision of the plan is to achieve a community that is both efficient and economically viable in its approach to reducing its carbon footprint and energy use. And looking at the pie chart to the right, we can see a breakdown based on their greenhouse gas inventory of where those emissions come from. And so the plan targeted measures that included increasing energy conservation in the built environment, transportation planning and active transportation, producing renewable or clean energy and capturing waste energy, and helping to improve local energy security. This breaks down roughly to a series of measures that will help St. John achieve its target of reducing emissions by 18% by 2035, compared to business as usual. And there are many other local community benefits that can be realized, including those around economic development, improved health, and resiliency. As part of our work with St. John, we help to identify some of the key performance indicators that can be used to monitor and measure progress over time. I'll get to those in a little bit. These are the measures that were incorporated in the action plan, including measures around energy efficiency, clean heat conversion, LED lighting programs, measures around the energy utility itself to improve operational efficiency, as well as transportation measures, such as those mentioned by Samir earlier, and renewable energy production. As part of our work with the City of St. John, we helped prepare a preliminary strategy for each of the actions that are contained in the plan with input of stakeholders during that workshop in 2020. Those have all been provided to the city. A lot of our work over the last 5 years has unearthed these kinds of challenges that communities share, and many communities share challenges around governance, in creating an implementation strategy, engaging stakeholders, measuring progress, and of course, challenges around financial and staff capacity or skills. So we held a workshop early in 2020 to engage the local stakeholders and municipal staff and help establish a governance framework or recommendations for a governance framework, and as well as provide a final report with recommendations to the city on that governance structure. And this will help the City of St. John move towards milestones 4 and 5 of the Partners for Climate Protection program. So they're currently at milestone 3 in that program. Here's a snapshot of that workshop. Many of you perhaps, or some of you perhaps were at that meeting. These are some of the results from the exercises that were conducted. This first exercise looked at the possible governance approaches, and we looked at best practices across Canada from region of Waterloo, for example, looking at how to do this in a regional approach versus hiring staff or assigning existing staff, or creating or working with a local not-for-profit to help advance the community energy plan. And so a lot of the discussion centered around the pros, the cons, the potential approaches or custom approaches to the City of St. John. And based on the feedback during that workshop, the thoughts were to have a regional energy coordinator that could work in collaboration with the neighboring municipalities to help implement what we consider to be aligned strategies around transportation, energy efficiency, and renewable energy deployment. And in many of the actions that outlined in there only make sense to do regionally or in partnership. Beyond just having a coordinator, you need that underlying structure, whether it's a board or an established organization, if you're going to take things on regionally. And it was recommended to set up 2 committees. One would be an internal staff level committee that could include from time to time representatives from neighboring municipalities as well as local stakeholders as needed. And then an external stakeholder advisory committee. That would consist of many of the local stakeholders in the region of St. John. And the internal committee would have the responsibility of updating council and seeking approval for changes to bylaws, plans, policies, and so forth. Program support. The community energy plan outlined a number of areas. We've summarized them here again as the focus areas of that regional coordinator and the two supporting committees. We also, based on the conversations, were able to develop a roadmap. And essentially this outlines which measures would be taking place in a prioritized fashion year over year to meet the target that was set out for 2025 and stretch targets for 2035. So 9% by 2025 is the community side emission reduction goal. And these were the actions that were contained in their action plan and built upon during that workshop, and listed here by year and when those should be reported on annually. There was also some thought around conducting a challenge and for future stakeholder engagement, the external advisory committee on one hand, but also being able to survey, collect data from, and engage local stakeholders and the public at large through, for example, challenges. In terms of key performance indicators, I should note that community energy plan can achieve more than just greenhouse gas reduction. Perhaps the most compelling reason for engaging in a community energy plan are the economic, health, and social benefits that come from implementation. And so for each of these types of benefits, we can list or think about a variety of indicators that can be measured over time and can be used to demonstrate the impact that the plan is having. While 90% of Canadian municipalities that have a plan contain an energy and emissions reduction target, more than 20% of those communities actually lack a structure to monitor progress toward their targets and to communicate benefits to the community. So these key performance indicators help us measure and communicate the net benefits to a community. So part of the exercise that we engaged with was to identify those indicators, and just summarized here in bullet form are some of the indicators that were selected as a way to measure progress. Data for these indicators can be collected from internal municipal departments, stakeholder surveys or data agreements, as well as the utilities that provide the energy and the energy services to residential and commercial sectors. So some of that data can be compiled through various sources and should be planned and done on an annual or semi-regular basis. There are a variety of tools as well. So in the discussions, we looked at the variety of methods for data collection, including, as I mentioned, data agreements, surveys, as well as meetings, reports from stakeholders, using what is called the PCP milestone tool for entering your data, using the Smart Energy Community Benchmark tool by Quest, which in fact we've already done with the City of St. John, and a number of other methods that you can use to collect data, and also the need to update key documents like the baseline greenhouse gas inventory has to eventually be updated with the information to show progress that is being made on reducing emissions across all of the measures. And also there's other potential for further energy mapping. For public education and awareness, there were two sides to this. One was around public education, the other around stakeholder engagement. Under public education is listed here some of the measures that could be taken on by a regional coordinator or communications department regarding promoting progress, but also engaging the public in the various measures that are proposed, some of which may need funding. And then also for stakeholder engagement, some of the preferred methods included stakeholder, so that advisory committee meetings, one-on-one meetings as needed, workshops and focus groups when that's possible during COVID, and the city attending stakeholder events. So not just holding events, but attending other events within the city, holding networking events, creating an ambassador program for community leaders, and making declarations for net zero targets. So the next steps, COVID certainly delayed, I think, the implementation of some of those recommendations. And so we're still at this stage of having the council consider those recommendations and initiating some of the recommendations there. If it's going to be a regional approach, it will require partnerships and further dialogue with the neighboring municipalities. But in a sense, the recommendations need to be presented to council, and the City of St. John could then work with the selected partners, whether that's the Regional Service Commission or a group like Sustainable St. John or not-for-profit in the community, to establish that regional position with potential funding through whether it's FCM, federal or provincial sources, form committees and neighboring municipalities. And so form those committees with a terms of reference, which we've also provided to the city to advance those priorities. We've provided them with several resources that can help with the further planning and implementation of the measures in their action plan. And funding changes from year to year, so we certainly help keep informed on what funding opportunities exist. And I think finally is to report progress to FCM Partners for Climate Protection program, because you are definitely one of the leading examples of a smaller city working towards net zero or carbon reduction targets. So how to measure progress, and these are just a few more slides on our work. I had mentioned we had undertaken a benchmark assessment for the City of St. John, which looks at not just how we're using energy, but all of the supports that are needed for implementing an energy plan. So some of our municipal goals may revolve around reducing emissions or reducing energy spending or improving community resilience. And often the way to get to those outcomes is through the energy processes and systems, through land use planning, planning buildings and transportation to meet our needs both cleanly, affordably, and efficiently. And beneath that, you need the right foundation, which includes governance structure, data, financial, stakeholder engagement, and strategy. So this benchmark assessment was undertaken and will be redone at a later point to see progress being made across those 10 indicators. We've benchmarked quite a number of communities, both in New Brunswick and across Canada, which helps to measure their local capacity and resources that need to be put in place. And yeah, that continues to take place. I just thought I'd throw that up there. We also undertook an economic impact assessment of the existing energy plan that also was applied to the City of St. John. And as a result of this project, which involved several municipalities, we also developed a workbook, a primer and a workbook that's available for free on our website, so that other communities can start to put some dollars and cents to the potential net impact of implementing their community energy plan. That's also available on our website. And we undertook a work around land-based renewable energy mapping, which include both a technical mapping assessment of renewable energy potential and cost and benefit, and then also the social acceptability of placement of some of those potential sites. So that was a very interesting project, resulted both in basically a protocol for doing this in any other community, as well as story maps for the City of St. John, basically a final report with the results for the city and the region. That's available on our website. And finally, just like to note that based also on some of the work we accomplished with St. John over the years, we developed a Smart Energy Community Accelerator program that offers a very similar set of services to currently 10 communities in New Brunswick, and they're currently working through the various stages of CEP development, CEP implementation, many of the same modules that I spoke about earlier. So just thought I'd leave you with that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, well, that's awesome, Eddie. Thank you so much for a great presentation. You too, Samir. So I do have a couple of questions here, so we'll start with the one that was up top. So the first one is for, I believe it's you, Eddie. Do your emissions percentages include large industry? For example, the refinery emits around 3 million tons of GHGs annually. Is this also included? And if not, why not?
Yeah, I can take that. The emissions from the large final emitters are covered under federal jurisdiction, not a requirement to be reported at the municipal level. So where they don't have jurisdiction over those emission standards, we leave it within the federal pie chart, if you wish, and not the local one. Samir, do you have anything else to add?
No, no, you have it right. No, this is when we did not the community, we didn't include the large emitter. We only looked from small to medium industries.
Right. All right, and we have another question. This one is for Eddie. How were people invited to the workshop for stakeholder engagement? Who are the stakeholders? Is there a list of them to be found somewhere? As for the external stakeholder advisory committee, has this happened already? And how does one get involved? This is from Linnea, and Linnea is very involved in environmental issues and has not heard of being invited to any workshops that you had spoken about.
Absolutely fair. I can say firstly that the advisory committee has not yet been established, although I know that's something that is being considered over the near term. As far as those previous engagement workshops, with respect to the governance and the results I presented today around governance, data, and communications, there was an invitation that went out to a variety of local organizations, private sector, not-for-profit, citizens groups, industry, and so forth, to ensure a broad level participation across those sectors. But Samir, maybe there was more that I'm not familiar with in terms of your outreach for those events.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as Eddie indicated, when we did take it seriously, when we tried to develop our community greenhouse gas and energy action plan, we reached out to everyone. We try to have a various diversity in our group here. So, and I'm sorry if I didn't get anybody else, but we did read from utility to non-profit organization to government to private sector, commercial businesses, homeowners, stuff like this. We did reach out a lot. So we had very, very significant group there available there. So it was good.
Awesome. All right, my next question is for Samir. For new residential units being approved by council, does the city require buildings to have low carbon or green stipulations to be approved? If not, because this could be a provincial issue for the city pushing the provincial government for these.
Yeah, I'm not currently. I'm not sure. I don't know. I cannot answer this question, Gerald. I'm not sure if there is any requirement for new residential. It is my understanding they're requiring some kind of using the model of National Energy Building Code, something like that. I'm not sure about it, but for us in the future, I can speak in the future, and we are. In the future, we might be looking at something that in the future, maybe yet as part of our overall community energy and action plan, when we try to, if we want to try to reach out to be net zero by 2050. So we might be looking some kind of policy on new building and so in the future, but nothing concrete right now.
Right. So right now, new builders coming with these types of developments aren't required to go by, say, LEED protocols or anything like that.
I'm sorry?
So the companies and the buildings and the new buildings for the city of St. John and other just municipal buildings, we're not making them come under the LEED program or the LEEDs, anything like that as it stands right now. Is that something in the future that we may be looking at, or would that be part of the discussions within the framework of the governance?
I mean, for us, like I can speak for our corporate operation. For us, like we have a policy, asset management policies that indicating that if we have any infrastructure, whether it is linear infrastructure or vertical infrastructure, if it is new or renewable, we are required to do a climate lens, meaning that we have to do a climate mitigation analysis and as well a climate change adaptation measure. So this is a requirement for us here, and we need to meet some target. I can see that happening in the future. Well, if we need to be more aggressive on our climate change, and we are seriously considered, we have to put a lot of policy and regulation in order for us to be able to meet our target. Otherwise, in my opinion, it will be challenging.
Right, and I can understand that for sure. And when you had mentioned that you got the city is starting some of the things that they're doing to the buildings to help with this type of program, what are the things are we doing to the buildings? Are we making the building systems more efficient and those type of things?
Yeah, we are taking a what do you call it, a municipal deep energy retrofit, meaning that we are putting a, we're not looking at low cap fruit now. We're looking at more energy efficiency. We did receive a lot of money of well over $2.5 million from the government to implement some of the measure over 50 to 50 buildings. So we are looking at aligning our program with energy efficiency program with our infrastructure renewal. So there's a lot happening, as you can see on the street light. We did a lot of work. We're doing a lot on our building in terms of heat recovery, energy efficiency, new lighting system, HVAC upgrade, geothermal, and everything. So we're doing a lot of energy efficiency measure right now in our building. Right now, I mean, we already implemented over 20 projects already. So we are very. We are looking at our target was 2025 by 35%. I think we will be able to meet it way before that, 2022 or 2023. So we are on the way to meet our target very much.
Awesome. So eventually, we're going to be looking at maybe net zero ready buildings, and that could be the new coming standard for what we're building in the next maybe 5, maybe 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, for us, when you talk about the corporate is very easy. We have control over it. We can do a lot of things here. But the challenge with us is the community, and in the community, we cannot do it alone. There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of dependency here. Hopefully, we're coming to council with a plan for us, for the community to be more aggressive, hopefully in the future, hopefully. So this will be more challenging. So I think we're going to put a lot of effort on our community and to understand the benefit of to be net zero if we decide to go net zero. So this will require a lot of community engagement, stakeholder engagement, a lot of support from the government, a lot of policy. So this is a challenging one.
So are you seeing that support from the federal and the provincial governments right now? I know we have this great plan, things are going, smoothly. We're just getting together all the governments and everything we need to actually start and begin this process. What has the federal and the provincial governments already said, hey, you know what, we're going to bring some financing to help you work towards this? Or are they making us do all the work first and proving the fact that we need this or we are going to do this?
I mean, finance. I mean, the government providing. We have received some financing. I mean, financing is a key part for us. Is pending. Is a key part for the city, for any community, not only St. John, for any community, yes. Because we are facing the same issue we're facing here. Is we cannot do the corporate. We can do it, no problem. I don't have any issue with the corporate. When it's come to community, is a challenge. We need the support of everybody. I mean, policy, like we're talking about, I mean, how can we be net zero by 2050? I mean, yes, it's easy to say it, but how can we do it? What are the variables? We need this support. We need this program. We need the behavior change. We need the, how can we make sure it's zero emission on our transportation? Are we looking to electrification of our clean air, our grid, for example? There's a lot to take here. So definitely this will be challenging, and definitely we need to partner with community leader, private, everything we can do in order to meet this target. So I think it's a good ambition vision. I think it's a great vision, and I'm excited about it. But a lot of things have to happen.
And I can understand that. Eddie, what kind of support are you getting? I know you're partnering with other communities and you've done this for other communities. What kind of support are you getting from those communities? And, are they, are you facing any major challenges for, coming in and saying, hey, this is where you can really recap some of this energy loss, and some of our programs will help you work through that?
Absolutely. The demand has been great. Not only have we launched the Community Accelerator program in New Brunswick, we've launched an a call for expressions of interest for a national accelerated program. And with that was maybe a week ago, we already have 40 different respondents, different municipalities from across Canada that have a real need for technical assistance and supports of various kinds to help them through the various stages of developing and implementing their CPs. Their challenges are often very much around capacity and financing in order to get started. And that's where we come in, and some of our work can be funded through alternative means. So it creates I think a good win-win situation for many of the communities that are involved, and hopefully sets them up on a foundation for success in their implementation. I also want to go back to one of the other questions, if I may, with regard to the potential for bylaws or building codes that might encourage higher energy performance in buildings, whether that's LEED standards and so on. Certainly in our benchmark assessment work, it was one of the areas that we've noticed, not just for St. John, but all the other communities in New Brunswick we've benchmarked, that the municipalities typically don't set stretch codes. In fact, if anything, St. John's done better than most of the other communities by creating a green zoning bylaw as a great, I would say, good example that other communities can replicate. Other communities, there's no standard, right? So communities may have provisions in their bylaws that encourage higher energy performance than building code, maybe not require it, but provide some kind of permit incentives, a development fee adjustment, or turnaround that will incentivize that. There's also potential for including provisions for renewable energy, which again, St. John's done that through their green zoning bylaw. And again, they can't really do it on their own. They can create the conditions for that kind of action to take place in the residential, commercial, new developments and so on. But they are dependent upon other orders of government, so for federal or provincial, providing the necessary incentives, reducing those barriers and those upfront costs to efficiency improvements and new building development. And then, of course, a lot of that also requires literacy among, the municipal staff, the planners, the building developers, real estate owners, the public at large, about those co-benefits and what's involved.
Right. Well, that's a great insight for us. Thanks, Eddie. One of the other questions I have here is that St. John is lacking level 3 charging stations for EVs. Is there a plan to change this? I'll probably bring this over to Samir.
Well, yeah, that's a good question, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's on our radar right now here. I mean, we are looking at level 2 basically right now throughout St. John. We are working with partnership with St. John Energy. I know Darren Lamont is on the call here. Maybe we can more information, but we work with St. John Energy on using level 2 throughout. We're looking at 10 to 12, I think, electrical vehicle stations around St. John. I'm not sure if there is any plan in the future for level 3 right now, so I can refer this question to St. John Energy.
Right. Samir, I have another question for you. Can you provide a little more detail on the DES and how it will work and the status of implementation?
I mean, yeah, as Eddie has talked about when he presented the action plan and for us to meet our greenhouse gases for the community, he indicates the DES, and he really, and I don't know how much I can emphasize the fact that the DES is an essential part of City of St. John to meet the community greenhouse gas action plan, energy target plan. And what we do, we are working really very hard to be able to develop this district energy system here. We did it in the past in 2009, 11, and the CONEC was there, but the environment wasn't there. I believe the environment is right now with the carbon tax, with the culture shift, with the policy from the federal government, with all this here. So we are working with the company right now, Torch Lighting and Radco System, which they are putting some application through Natural Gas of Canada to do a detailed energy study here to look at the possibility. And this is going to be a detailed energy study using the wastewater from Irving as a whatever temperature is it, using heat pump technology to bring the temperature to a certain limit, whatever needs 140, 150, and we want to use some kind of a large pipeline, distribution pipeline, to bring it to the downtown area in St. John, and using electrification system to do it, using heat pump system, and we want to try to distribute it to all the St. John uptown area. So we are developing a master plan, and we are using a phase approach as part of the master plan to see where's going to be how we're going to phase out this project, and the whole idea of the district energy in the future, which is going to take 10 to 15, could be 20 years to be able to have most of our building, and even in the future some residential area to be this on district energy system. This is not a new technology. This has been done everywhere. We are limited in Canada. I don't think we have too many in Canada, but if we go across in Europe, Denmark, all this country, Europe, England, France, it's very popular. Especially now we have a pulp and paper available for us, and we can have other source of energy also. We're looking at it right now. So this is a essential part for us as a city of St. John to have the district energy system in order to meet our target.
So I saw that article. I thought it was awesome. What kind of support are we getting from the Irving companies, whether it be financial or just anything else about managing this program and just getting it off the ground?
I think the Irvings, they want to do it as a community project. You know what I mean? They want to see this. It's a community project. Again, I always tell people the best energy we can use is the energy we don't use. You know what I mean? We don't need to produce more energy as we are. I mean, if we can tap in our waste energy, you know what I mean? If we can tap somehow on our waste energy and transform it into a thermal energy, which can be used by buildings, we can use by other something, and this will be our best strategy, in my opinion. You know what I mean? I know local renewable energy is good. I'm nothing against that here, but I always say, first one we have to do is try to recover waste energy as much as we can.
And I think you're right. I think that's a great idea. I mean, we have, some large industry here. We got the refinery, a couple pulp mills, and other refining big industry here. Do you think, and you may not be able to answer this, do you think there'll be a cost to getting the water from the industry to do this? There's been several things like that on the net, speculating.
I don't know yet. I mean, we're not sure on this. We're still doing the study right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure if there's any cost, will be integrated or be included in our financial model.
Right. Another question is, would the DES be destined for the uptown, where it's located on the west side, and could supply them?
Yeah, and these are all good questions here. The DES will be, basically, we try to go first to our core business will be the downtown area. This will be our core business here. So we're not sure. I mean, we know where we have to put our heat pump system, so we have to house it somewhere. Then we need to have a backup system if we need to do a backup plan here in case we lose power or lose energy from this. So will be still under consideration when we do district energy system study. And part of this district energy study, which I'm very happy about it, is there's going to be a lot of community engagement and consultation with various groups, with various staff on this here. So it's very important here. This one thing I like about this study is we are going more deep to consult and communicate and engage the various stakeholders in the community. So we hope our application will be successful, so we can start the work. So the job will take 1 year to complete.
Right.
Harold, I can speak a little bit on that. It's Darren here on that level 3
charge. How are you?
Good. And at level 3 charging a little bit.
Go ahead, Darren.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me all right.
Yes.
Presently I don't, I'm not with St. John Energy anymore. I'm with a consulting firm, but still I won't speak on their behalf. But what happened when I was involved with the initial level 2 project, that was our starting point to get level 2s within the city. And the cost for level 3 charging station from start to finish, they're around between could be anywhere between 30 and 50 grand to get one of them installed for a level 3 cost. And then they become kind of site specific, how you get them. I know there's a lot of them throughout the province today as we speak. Yeah. And a lot of them were installed through funding mechanisms by the federal government or NRCan providing some funding. And I believe that's where St. John Energy and the City of St. John's role will be. You know, if they can get some funding to help get those installed within the community, right. You know, that would be very, very beneficial. I think they'll happen. It's just a matter of time. You know, as more and more electric vehicles become evident in the city, that'll come to fruition, and as they move along. But you know, St. John Energy, I know it's on their roadmap and the city roadmap. It's a matter of timing, and you know, as Samir mentioned, you know, the Birch Hill's their primary project right now to get that in operation, so they can see the benefits for the funding. But if anyone looks at, you know, level 3 charging stations, they're quite expensive to get deployed and installed, and there's so they would really appreciate some benefits of some federal provincial funding to get those installed. So
just real quick, for those of us who don't know, what's the biggest difference between level 2 and level 3?
That would be time to charge. It's significantly like a level. You can probably charge a level 3 by level 3 within a half hour to an hour. Whereas
so
level
it's a
2,
supercharger.
Oh yeah, it is. It's high capacity. There's some in the valleys. You know, Tesla's has a lot of level 3. There's level 3s, I believe, just outside the outskirts of the city. There's a couple that were put in, I think, through NB Power, did some through partnerships with NRCan and other funding within the province. Yep. So it definitely does significantly increase charging time. You can stop for coffee or bite to eat, and that time your vehicle's charged. And then it all comes down to cost. You know, what are people going to pay to use those services? You know, right now some of them are free. That could change because, you know, as energy becomes a higher demand, and that's where the increase of renewables could help offset that, right? You know, for the amount of usage that those level 3 charging stations do use. So, you know, there's a cost associated with that because someone's got to pay for the energy. So,
right. Well, thank you so much, Darren. I appreciate you coming in on that discussion. I appreciate it for sure.
No problem. Anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. All right. I think we're out of questions, and we are also at the end of our talk here today. I want to thank again you, Eddie, and you, Samir. Thank you so much for bringing this presentation. It was very informative. It was just an outstanding amount of information for us to look forward to and to keep an eye on to see really where this is going to go. And, you know, I really think it's going to be awesome. I'd like to just say thank you both for coming and working and bringing these presentations to us. I want to thank our members for attending this event today, and just to remind you that it will be uploaded to YouTube soon. And just our last item, if you would like to get involved in becoming a board member or have suggested ideas for future presentations for Sustainable St. John, please reach out to us at info@sustainablesaintjohn.ca, and you know, we will respond to you. So thanks again, everybody. I hope everybody has a great day, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Thanks.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.